welcome to All Things Pan. That song was Algorithmic by Teddy G and the Groove, which is our guest today. So hello, welcome to All Things Pan. We are sponsored by Pantastics 868. Make sure you check them out on Instagram. They have everything from tenor sticks all the way from bass sticks. So make sure you check out their Instagram at Pantastics 868. So if you're new to this page, on this page we'll be talking to panists, arrangers, tuners, builders, and maybe people like you, pan enthusiasts, about all things pan. So on that note, I would like to invite Mr. Ted Goslin. Just waiting for him to accept. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
That's good. How was your day so far?
It's good. Yeah. Yeah. Just another day. I get to work from home, so that's nice. But keeping busy with my day job.
Nice. So you get to stay in your pajamas all day.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Nice.
I won't pan down.
Okay, good. That's all I ask. So, just to let you know, people that are watching, I let them ask you some questions at the end of the show. So just to kind of put you in the hot seat, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah? Awesome. So, let's start off easy. You have a magazine dedicated to steel pan called Pan Magazine, I believe?
Yes, Pan Magazine.
Would you like to tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I started it in 2014, with the intention of, tackling some more in-depth stories on, events, bands, arrangers, tuners, builders, just, trying to cover the industry in a different way than what I had seen previously. My background is, I have a degree in journalism. I worked, different publications over the years and, doing freelance work and whatnot. And I wanted to take that expertise and apply it to the pan community to, provide, just something a little different. I always loved writing like feature articles on, companies and individuals that did things that are really notable and stand out, in their respective industries. Previously, I worked for a car audio B2B publication called Mobile Electronics, in which I would interview guys that had their own car audio shops and were entrepreneurs and stuff. And so that really helped inspire the direction of this publication, which is like, okay, well, what if we applied that to the pan community of doing something? You have a little bit of everything. You have a news section, a features section. You have an education section on the gig for working panists. They're doing gigs. And a variety of other things going on. So, that was really what inspired it and, the goal with it.
Nice. So let's get to know about you.
Okay.
Let us know about you. Easy questions. Easy questions.
Absolutely, yeah. I grew up in Torrance, California, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. And, basically, like, I was always into music as a kid. But my other love was just storytelling and, movies and video games and stuff. So I always had that kind of dual interest of being interested in writing and creating, storytelling along with music. So that really helped kind of influence my direction musically later, what I really, got into. But yeah, so, I went to, after moving through elementary and middle school, I moved to another city and I had the choice to make for high school of either going to a high school that was Lakewood High, which didn't have a steel band program, or North Torrance High, which did. And my brother was also going there. So that ended up being an easy decision. I was like, well, I was really interested in it. A steel band came to my middle school and played, and I saw that and I immediately was like, oh, what's this? And then once I went to high school, I just remember the day vividly still, walking through and being told, all right, you get to pick what instrument you want to play. I'm like, oh, okay. So I listen to the tenors. Okay, that's cool. Listen to double seconds. That's really cool. Go into this back room and I hear the guitar pans play, triple guitars. And immediately I was like, that's it. That's for me. So I started on triple guitars, started excelling there, playing, just gobbling it up. Like I wasn't, I played a variety of different music with the band, but then eventually there was an opportunity to play in an all-star band that was being put together by basically there were two bands in the area that were the first in Southern California for steel bands in high schools. One was North Torrance High School, led by David Beery, who's a student of Ep8, tuner and arranger and builder, and then another Long Beach Poly High School led by Chris Wabish, who's also a notable panist, builder, tuner, and a really prolific jazz drummer and composer. He's just stellar. Anyway, so he brought me into that group. I played in that group for a few years. We got to travel to Finland and play with a Finnish steel band and do a little mini tour with them, playing like college, not college, like a middle school and high school and stuff like that. And there was one that was a big concert, but that was a lot of fun. So that was a great experience. I learned a lot from that, and ultimately, I just after high school, during college, I just started my own band and started playing, my own gigs, and just kept playing pan from there.
Nice. So you got involved in pan by high school or middle school?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
someone visiting my middle school and inspiring me to go to a high school that had the program, and that's how I went. I was also looking at Long Beach Poly, but at the time I didn't have the grades. I wasn't. I was just kind of an average student. I didn't really excel in school. But it turned out that worked in my favor, because in high school I played so many gigs with the steel band that my grades would have suffered if I were in more advanced courses. So
right, fair enough. So you mentioned earlier that you played triple guitar. What is your primary instrument? Like, what is your go-to instrument to play?
It switches between tenor pan and double seconds, but I'm pretty much double seconds now.
Double seconds is your go-to? So
that's my go-to.
So you can't cheat on your double seconds now?
No. I know, right? It's like, I know. No, the double seconds, that lets me get, have a little bit of leeway with the tenor pan, because, sometimes it's okay, That's my side pan.
Okay. I won't say anymore. So you played in bands over the years. What made you, or what inspired you to become a soloist?
All the great virtuosos of the time. I mean, in a word, Bugsy Sharp, but he was always my favorite. Just masterful what he could do on the pans. Just make it sound like a harp and just do whatever he wanted. That blew my mind and made me think. I don't think I can ever be that good, but maybe I can find my own sound. And at least, I just want to be involved and just play, because that's, an inspiring thing that he has as an effect. And of course, the other panists that I grew up listening to that, I also love equally, Liam Teague, Andy Norell, Professor Fillmore, Robert Greenidge, and then, modern players that really have inspired me to continue as well, like Andre White, Jonathan Scales, Tracy Thornton, Victor Provost, Devon Stewart, who was on earlier, say hello.
Yeah. Can't forget him.
Yeah, right, exactly. And Ellie Minette as well. And Cliff Alexis. I can go on all day with names, but anyway, but the other side of it was what inspired me was I feel like we're so lucky that there was this series of CDs that I would listen to. That was the Delos Caribbean Carnival series that by Simeon Sandiford, and it had some of the most amazing arrangements that helped me to get to know those arrangers and those players that I just mentioned. So that was an inspiration to me. And then also the other part of it is getting to play with great players. Myself, I got to play with Bugsy once with that Panic All Stars group that I mentioned earlier. We did a concert at Long Beach Poly High School in 1998. And, he did, it was an epic concert. We played basically 2 panoramas back to back at the end of the night. And the last part of it was, but he didn't know we were playing 2. All he knew was we were playing Woman is Boss. And then at the end of Woman is Boss, Chris Wabish is playing drums, screams, and goes into Fire Down Below. And Boogsy's like, what? Oh, all right. He doesn't miss a beat. He just like nothing. And of course, he adds to each song brilliantly beyond what I kind of been used to hearing on the recordings. So, so much fun. But anyway, yes, those elements together really inspired me to be a soloist.
Nice. So we're going to continue on the band train. I've done some research, and you have a band in California called Pure Steelband.
Correct. Yes.
How did that come about?
From high school, me and a group of other players, the band had rotating members over the years. It started out with quite a few players, and I wasn't even in the original group. It was my brother and a few other people, and then that kind of changed as the years went on, and it just kind of, dissolved. It was more of like a high school band, just to have fun at first. And then,
Hmm.
we I got some core members made up of some friends of mine, and we played for many years, as Pure Steel, as a trio or a quartet, and just doing lots of backyard gigs and stuff. But a couple
Hmm.
things that were fun about that were that we sometimes we would land ourselves in really notable, gigs, like places where we never thought we'd be. One was we had this regular gig we'd play, at this campsite, and it was for some people in the film industry, and those
Okay.
people were connected to Julia Roberts. So we got to play for Julia Roberts one time at their rehearsal dinner.
Nice.
It was just like random. And then another time
Yeah.
I did a solo gig where I got contacted through, online, and I got to play at Cedric the Entertainer's house
Wow.
for Easter, where he was dressed up as the Easter Bunny, along with a bunch of other celebrities like Omar Epps,
Yeah.
and it was hilarious. And then David Carradine was there. And it was like 3 weeks before he passed away, which was crazy.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that was.
Wow.
But living in LA, you have those opportunities come up just out of nowhere randomly. If
Hmm.
you're searchable and people can find you easy enough, then you just never
Yeah.
know what's going to come your way.
Wow. So I was going to ask you, is getting gigs hard to get in California? But you've said it's pretty easy.
Yes and no. I mean,
Yeah.
it really kind of ebbs and flows. It's weird.
Hmm.
There used to be a time where it was much easier, but there's actually it also depends on how many players there are. And there's a lot of players in LA now. Whereas for
Okay.
a time, I was getting a ton of gigs because there weren't very many. So, more
Hmm.
competition and the more people are, out there, then yeah, the more it can be competitive. But at the same time, it's a big place. There's a lot of opportunity here. And if you market yourself well, if you use the right tools, then
Hmm.
you can get just as many gigs as the next person. So,
Nice, nice. I just saw a few people come into the room. Hi, Bree. Hello, Kenneth. Panorama. Trini. BZ. Hi. um, as during our intro, we played a video from your band, Teddy G and the Groove. Explain, tell us about that band, because I feel like it's a more jazzy blues. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm getting from it.
there's all kinds of elements in there for sure. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so my original idea with the group was I wanted to do my original music, which ended up being I have a rock like background. I played in like rock reggae bands, kind of
Okay.
fusing different elements together. But like I played in a band that had I played bass, and then my friend from Pure Steel he played double seconds and sang, and that band was called 3 Day Weekend. And we did some
Okay.
gigs in like the 2008, and 2006 through 8. But like, uh, you know, the inspiration was, part of that. I always wanted to do something similar to my background, which is rock. So like,
Hmm.
I started really getting into progressive rock and jazz fusion bands like Weather Report with Jaco Pastorius, Mahi Vishnu Orchestra, and
Okay.
then modern groups like Jonathan Scales Orchestra, who incorporate jazz fusion elements. But also, I've always been a huge, as I mentioned earlier, big movie buff and big fan of cinema and storytelling in that way. And to
Hmm.
me, I always heard pan as this epic cinematic instrument, especially
Right.
with the Panorama. So
Right.
so that's what I wanted to do, try and incorporate into this, fusion with progressive rock, and then fuse in some other styles as I went along. So that was the idea behind Teddy
Hmm.
G and the Groove music. And particularly, this is, the debut album, the song that you played, Algorithmic. That's the sixth track on the debut album, and that's part of the hero's journey. That's why the album's called Monomyth, because that means the hero's journey,
Hmm.
from Joseph Campbell, if you're familiar with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the
Nice.
idea before. I got so excited thinking, oh yeah, I make this cinematic, movie thing, and then it can be left to interpretation. It's basically
Hmm.
an interpretation of the hero's journey when fused with pan and all those other elements I talked about. So
Nice. Nice. So with your bands, is it a group decision to decide on what songs to play, or is it kind of you decide and everyone follows? How does that
it,
work?
this one was, yeah, this group is me. I decide and everyone follows. I have encouraged
Hmm.
everybody to come up with ideas and stuff, and they
Hmm.
do. That's why it's been a great experience, because everybody has come up with some, they put their own input into each song. They really help, craft their own parts. I just kind of
Hmm.
create the outline, much like, the Dave Matthews Band, or any group that has like the leader's name that writes the songs, and then the rest of the band fills in the outline. So that's
Right.
kind of the
Right.
structure of it. I also named it that way so to help kind of call out the instrument, because the idea of the band is to help push the genre or the instrument of steel pan outside of the old novelty status. Although there's plenty of people doing that now, thankfully. But I just
Yeah.
found that this is something I've always wanted to do, and I never get a chance to make my own solo album. So that's another
Right.
element.
Right. Do you ever arrange for your bands, or do you just use music sheets? How do you?
No, I just write it out really basically. I
Okay.
come from that kind of rote. I can read music and write music, but I come from more of a rote background that I like
Hmm.
to, do it Panorama style because then I feel like in this context, you can make edits to it as you go and just tell someone as opposed to have to write it out if you're playing with people that require sheet music. Everyone's
Right.
different with music. There's different musicians that have different styles, but
Hmm.
for me, I just like to just teach by rote. I'll write it down, of course, but not in notation, music notation, but just like on a Google Doc. I'll write out
Right.
what chords I want, and then kind of maybe put little explanations into specifics, like this is a unison section, this is the bridge, this is whatever, and
Okay.
then it's just a clear outline, and then we can adjust as we go along. Plus, there's
Okay.
idea, I don't always have it fully fleshed in terms of exactly what I want. I just have a general direction, and then it becomes something else. So,
Okay. And how long does that process usually take for you?
yeah, it varies. Some songs are fully baked in my head, and
Yeah.
or I fully bake them on the double seconds here, and then
Yeah.
and it's nice to have it set up. You just walk
Yeah. Of
up,
course.
but yeah, and some songs take some work. For
Yeah.
instance, some of the track. There's one track on there called "When the Dust Settles," which is like a modern classical piece, and
Okay.
and originally I had an idea of maybe adding some strings to it, but I wasn't exactly sure how that would go. So
Mm.
I recorded the double seconds, and then I worked with my producer slash engineer slash guitar player, Camila Cedinho, my good friend. If he gets to watch this, hi Camila.
Oh.
I worked with him on developing, the parts underneath it and what would you do. So
Mhm.
we used a MIDI controller. I would have liked to have done strings, but I had cost issues, and so I had to keep the
Mm.
cost down. It was very expensive for me personally to do the album. I paid for it all myself,
Right.
but he helped, and I got to record at a great studio called Big Ego in Long Beach,
Okay.
which is the
Okay.
opposite of that. The owner is actually super cool, so that was
Nice.
funny.
Nice.
He helped me. He kind of pushed me to do more underneath, in the counter melody and how I use the instrumentation for that piece. So we
Hmm.
played around with it and got it sounding the way we want it. So it's really a lot of it, it's collaboration, but some of it, you have baked out. It's a mixture, but it can take
Right.
anywhere from I don't know, a week to a month to
Okay.
longer. I mean,
Okay.
when we would focus on each track, we'd go, okay, we're going to jump in and see how long this takes. And if it's a full band piece, I would always do a rehearsal before to really iron it out, so that we weren't
Right.
spending that time in the studio trying to get it down, so we could record as much as possible.
Right.
And sometimes
Okay.
things would change in the studio, so you have to leave room
Of
for that
course.
as well.
Of course. Of course. I understand. Yes. So, you mentioned this album. When is it coming out, or is it out already, or where can we find it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's on all major streaming services right now. It's out. It came out on July, in the middle of July of this year,
Okay.
and
Okay.
we've been working on it I've been working on it for 5 years, but we've been
Yeah.
working as a group for about three on and off. We had some
Okay.
things get in the way of that, including almost losing the whole album,
Oh,
um,
wow.
because there was an issue with a computer going down, and the drive that we had. Wasn't working, so we had to get the drive fixed, and luckily we were able to and
That's
save
good.
the whole album. So yeah,
That's good.
otherwise
That's good.
it would have been really bad. But yeah, it worked
Yeah.
out, and the album, we're really happy with how it turned out, and we've gotten some positive feedback, including a review that I was able to thankfully get someone to write for it, Dr. Eugene Novotny from Humboldt State University, who
Nice.
was, as one of the judges on the Panorama competition. So
Yeah.
he wrote an amazing review. I'm so like thankful, and I recommend checking that. It's on Pan Magazine
Nice.
now. But yeah,
Really
and
well.
he called out things, and that's what's fun about when you read a review. They call out things that maybe you had in the back of your mind, but you didn't actually think about as the way that they worded it. So it's fun to
Right.
see that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So just to go back a bit to marketing in California, how do you have you found what works better or what hasn't worked for you?
Yeah, for me, I played with different things. I played with
Hmm.
um, Google AdWords. That didn't work for me at all. It
Hmm.
worked at a time, and then when I first started, it started working, and then for some reason it didn't.
Yeah.
But you really have to stay on top of it, because things can change rapidly when it comes to keywords and SEO and stuff.
Right.
And also make sure you're updating, everything for your own website and how people can find you, especially on another element is to use those online booking sites like Gig Salad. Um,
Okay.
and what's now called the Bash, what used to be called Gig Masters, that was like the top one. That was the one I started using in the beginning, like
Hmm.
2005, and that was really good for a time, but it got kind of crowded and their rating system wasn't great. But I think they've changed a lot since. I haven't used them in a while because I went a
Right.
different route than using the booking agents. It's very time consuming. You have to go
Mm.
on and respond to bids, and then respond to requests, and then submit a bid, and then wait for the response, and it's just very involved.
Oh,
Which you
wow.
can do for sure if you have the time, and you can get a lot of gigs with that. But
Yeah.
um, but for the most part, you'd want to craft. What works for me and what's worked in the past is just having just a mixture of every single possible way to get a gig. Um,
Hmm.
you know, One thing that's worked a lot, thanks to my friend Danny Irie, who's out here in LA. He's been here the whole, for many
Yeah.
years. Grew up here and had a lot of experience from his dad, who was a pen player. You know, he recommends going to farmers markets and playing. So he helped kind of get me into one of those, and
Hmm.
that helped get some gigs, or at the very least, even if it doesn't get you a gig, you get some free farmers market food out of it,
Oh,
um, and you get
okay.
and you get tips, and you have a good time
Yeah.
because there's families there, and it's fun. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Good to
but
know. Farmers market.
farmers market, yeah. But those can fill up fast, especially out here. So it's helpful
Yeah.
to have an in. So,
Okay.
but yeah, that definitely was helpful also for me in the early days when nobody was doing the farmers market. I just went to one and boom, I just have instant gigs, especially if you're in an
Right.
affluent area.
Right.
But yeah, so you got some online ways. I tried Yelp one time, it didn't work. I don't know if
Hmm.
it was me, if it was just the time of year, whatnot, but it can be quite expensive. So
Right.
overall, it's word of mouth. It's doing live gigs for free or for low pay that could generate interest and get you some more gigs, and also
Hmm.
working with other panists in around the area so that you can be a sub for them when needed. They can be a sub for you. It's great
Yeah.
for networking and just having a backup if you need it.
For sure. For sure. Good to know. Good to know. Um, since you've played a lot of pan over the years, have you experienced Panorama around the world
I
or
have,
anywhere?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have experienced two panoramas. Um,
Okay.
One in Trinidad and Tobago, in Port of
Nice.
Spain. In
Nice.
2016, I got to go
Okay.
and play with Birdsong,
Okay.
and Andy Norell was the arranger. That was the last year he arranged in Trinidad. Hopefully not the
Okay.
last forever,
Yes.
but but it was a fantastic experience. He's wonderful. I mean, I
Hmm.
really had a lot of fun. And I wrote a two-part article on Pan Magazine about my experience because
Hmm.
it's just it for me it was magical because it was like my childhood dream kind of coming through.
Right.
I hadn't had the opportunity to make it out there beforehand, for various reasons. Life gets in the way, but this was a perfect opportunity. I took advantage of it. Went. Um, One of the first things I got, that really blew my mind open was the food,
Right.
which is God, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's like the best food in the world for me. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so I got taken to like a doubles cart, which the guy was like, "This is the best doubles in the whole city. You're gonna love it." I'm like, "Okay." And of course, I got told that there's the best doubles cart like by 30 different people at different places.
Of
So
course. Yeah.
everyone has their preference, of course. But yeah, it was
Yeah.
awesome. And then when I got to the pan yard, I thought, "Man, I'm home." Like I wish I could have this experience in LA. I wish we had Pan Yards there because this vibe is just magic, you know? So got to play in the semifinals. Haven't been able to go to finals yet. Was hoping to
Okay.
do it, in the next couple of years. So hopefully that happens. Everything calms down, pandemic goes away, and we're back to normal and can enjoy
Yes.
Panorama the way it was meant to
Yes.
be enjoyed.
Yes.
And then the second one, I went to Brooklyn 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and got to hang out with a band there, and with Peso, and
Okay.
got to hang out with Andre White. Quint Rose was gracious. I
Nice.
mean, everybody was so gracious and just
Yeah.
wonderful, and it was just such an awesome experience. I didn't get to play because I didn't have the time to practice a part or bug them about joining up, but I was there at least helping the band set up and move around, and
Hmm.
took pictures and stuff, and wrote a story about it. So,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, I mean, I guess the connecting threads of those things were that they're equally magical, they're equally epic in scale and what all the arrangers offer, but they're slightly different in cultural elements because you're in New York, so you have everything. It's kind of funny. It's like you have everything around you, and people are just kind of, I guess, they're just so used to it there, they don't think it's special. But
Right.
that's what's funny.
Yeah.
But whereas you go to a pan yard in Trinidad, and it has their supporters that are there all the time, that are hanging out,
Yeah.
eating corn soup and just chilling.
Yeah. So, what would you tell someone if they wanted to go experience Panorama, what to expect for their first time? Or if they wanted to play, what to expect?
Um, well, yeah, there's two. I mean, it's two different experiences, I think, because
Right.
if you're just going as a spectator,
Hmm.
then yeah, you definitely want to have some direction. But it's definitely fun walking around, and just checking out each band and seeing how the Rangers do their thing and seeing how the fans interact. One of the things that
Hmm.
was the coolest thing as a player was when you're pushing your cart and you stop on the track and you're heading towards, and you stop and you're trying to kind of you're doing your very best to play, but you do
Yeah.
notice when your band is on versus when they're slightly off, and it can happen right
Uh,
before you get on the stage, and you just hope that I mean, it's not always the case with every band, I'm sure, but at least in
yeah.
my experience, you could hear little things, and not huge noticeable, but just like you knew when it was like locked in perfectly. And one of those moments happened on the track where we're stopped and we're just locked in, everybody's just vibing, it's just like magic. And then
Hmm.
the supporters come up right next to you and look down as you're playing. It's different than it is on the stage because nobody can come up like that. But on the
Right.
track, they're just like watching you, but they're grooving and they're just like smiling at you, and it's just like, yes. I mean, it's that moment as a performer where you always dream, where you can kind of break the barrier down, where you're not on a stage and then the listeners are separate from you. They're right next to you, enjoying it just as much as you are, regardless of
Right.
whether they're playing or not. It's just, yeah, it's very special.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Well, hopefully next year we can all go and enjoy it like it's supposed to be enjoyed.
Agreed.
Hopefully.
I'm with you.
Hopefully. I was actually supposed to
Absolutely.
go, I was actually planning on going in December so I can experience the whole playing and practicing, but
I know. I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
We're all in the same boat. Oh,
Yeah. Hopefully.
yeah.
I'm
Fingers
crossing my
crossed.
fingers. Fingers crossed. Double toes, hair, everything crossed. So we're nearing that part where people can ask you questions. While
Hmm.
people get their questions, if there are any, um, what's a little fun fact that you can give us that's PG?
Fun. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, one was what I mentioned earlier about getting to play for celebrities. That was cool.
Hmm. Hmm.
But another is more about my doubles, because I thought I would just share this about these double
Yeah.
seconds. These
Yeah,
were
for
made
sure.
by Dave Beery, who was
Okay.
my teacher, and they're just beautiful. But I had the rare experience of getting to share these with the world in a way, because my friend Tyler Hunt, who is a percussionist, he has a master's from um, Cal State Long Beach, and went to Humboldt State, and he's a great player. But he had the opportunity through word of mouth of getting to play on Star Wars Episode 8. What was the name of it? The Last Jedi.
Wow.
John Williams wanted to bring in, the composer, John Williams,
Yeah.
he wanted to bring in Pan again because he had used it on, the very first Star Wars movie, and he thought it'd be fun to do nostalgia on this one.
Right.
So he reached out to one of his percussionists. One of his percussionists knew Tyler, and it just worked out perfectly. But Tyler
Uh-huh.
had a dilemma. He didn't have the correct range of
Mm,
instrument to use for what Williams wanted. So
right.
he was asking different people. He reached out to me, and I said, "Yeah, I have that exact range that you're looking for." He said, "Great, let me borrow your pans," and the rest is history. So the pans you
Wow.
hear on that movie are these pans right here.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Is it hard to get a tuner in LA, or do you find it easy?
It's easy because I just go to Dave Beery and bug him
Okay. Okay.
because he's
All
right
right,
here,
cool.
really close to where I live.
Okay.
He has his own shop called Dave's Island Instruments, where he sells
Okay.
hand pans and ukuleles, but he also tunes,
Oh,
steel
nice.
pans. He'll go to bands and stuff, and there's other tuners nearby as well. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's interesting how the tuning world works out here, where people tend to stick to kind of some regions, but
Hmm.
they'll also travel if you need them to.
Okay. Good to know. Would they travel to Canada?
Quite possibly. Well, you should bug
Okay.
Augustus Peters, right?
I mean, we brought him here once before. We wanted to bring him back actually last month, but
He's probably pretty busy.
that too, and
Yeah,
the
and the
pandemic,
pandemic.
and the pandemic has him on lockdown. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kenneth has a question for you. You mentioned you teach your ensemble via Root. I'm guessing that's what it means.
Yeah.
Do they read as well?
Yeah, depending on the player, but yes, typically I work with kind of more classically trained musicians who played at least even if it's just in high school, reading and stuff. But most players that I play with can read music.
Okay.
Um, it's just for me in terms of speed. It's faster for me just to not have to notate. But I'm just not that kind of musician. I'm like I said, I'm like an old school kind of rocker. I'm more like a
Hmm.
throwback to the 70s where I just like to learn the music with the band and let them contribute at the same time. But when it
Okay.
comes to like learning, cover charts and stuff,
Hmm.
it's definitely that can be more, that can be a lot faster, especially if it's a complex. If we're going to play a panorama, which I never get to do anymore, but we used to.
Yeah.
And you would definitely need a chart for that. So more complex arrangements, yes, always get charts. Um, but otherwise, wrote.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
yeah, musicians definitely do read music as well. So it's helpful to have versatility.
Right. All right. We have another question. Kenneth said, "Hit me up for covers."
Okay, I will. Email me.
There you go. Have something going on there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what this is about, right? Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
interact, especially during the
Exactly.
pandemic, man. We got to keep ourselves sane.
Yes. Yes. I just saw Augustus join. Hello, Augustus. We just spoke of you earlier.
What's up, dude?
I think one of the better tuners in the world right now. I
He,
think I'm being. It's only because he's tuned my pan so many times. I just.
oh yeah, no, I can
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Augustus, you're the man, dude. Awesome
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was
For sure.
also awesome and gracious when I visited Brooklyn, so that was fun.
Oh, nice. That's good. That's good. Does anyone else have any questions? Is there anything else you want to let us know before we go? Our hour's almost done.
Anything I want to let you know?
Yeah.
Just everybody, stay sane during the pandemic. Just keep practicing, keep playing music as much as you can. Just keep
Hmm.
listening to music, gobbling it up. There's a lot of great publications online. Aside from when Steel Talks does fantastic work. Steel Pan Authority. I've been reading a little bit of that. It's awesome. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot more online these days, and I feel like we're in a really great age for pans. So whatever you can do to contribute or to find out about, absolutely. And likewise, if you have a story you'd like to submit to me for Pan
Yeah.
Magazine, that you submit, a band, a person, anything you feel that's really notable that you think the world should know about, feel free to reach out. Absolutely.
Okay. I have a few.
Okay.
I have a few.
All right.
Um, Pantrin Bago just joined. Hello, Pantrin Bago. If you have a question for Ted, please put it in. um, I had a question. I literally had a question on top of my head, and it just vanished. Oh, it'll come.
Okay. Yeah. No
It'll come.
worries.
It'll come. It'll come. It'll come. So with your Pure Steel Band. Have you guys been doing like virtual gigs, or have you just kind of been on a standstill? Have you guys been practicing or trying to?
No, I've been on a standstill. I've done a couple of gigs more so. Like, the majority of my gigs with Pure Steel end up nowadays being more solo gigs or duo.
Mm.
I play gigs with Danny Irie, so I have
Okay.
played with part of his band. That one is just kind of morphed over the years. I'm definitely planning on jumping back into it once the pandemic is over and doing more gigs with that group. But
Hmm.
what ended up happening was, I had a few kind of standard gigs. Like another source for gigs is, just go to places that have regular events, like community centers and stuff. And one that I've had over the years many times is a yacht club, different yacht
Okay.
clubs in the area, like
Okay.
Shoreline Yacht Club in Long Beach. I played there many years for their opening day ceremonies, and that's always
Hmm.
been fun. So those are great sources of work for Panis,
Yeah.
and other community centers as well. So
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So you haven't been practicing with anyone else? It's just been just you?
just me, yeah. Well, no,
Just you?
I don't want to say just me. I mean, yeah, I played here and there this year since the pandemic a little, but not much.
Yeah.
But I do call and speak to Panis all the time. I just had a great long conversation with Tracy Thornton yesterday,
Oh, nice.
and I think that's it's just a great tool. I've also taken lessons from people, like took a lesson from Jonathan Scales a while back.
Nice.
Um, there's plenty of guys out there that are open to that. So I highly
Yeah.
recommend reaching out to your favorite pan player. And I'm not going to mention everybody else's name because I don't want them flooded necessarily if they
Yeah.
don't want to be.
Yeah.
But but yeah, there's a lot of people that are down to do that kind of work right now, and that's good.
Yeah.
So and me as well. If you have questions, you want even if it's just chat, it doesn't have to be anything specific. Just reach out, and happy to have like a video conference or even email, whatever.
Nice.
But I just like to collaborate and find out as much about what's going on as possible from different people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there is actually a tool for practicing online as well. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I didn't get really much of a chance to use it. I kind of tooled around with it, but
Okay.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Yeah.
That's the problem with doing it on this. You do live stream or you do Zoom call, then you try to practice and you get like sync issues. So I mean,
Right.
you can do lessons online like that, but it might be best to use a tool that was built for it. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fantastics is
oh
asking if you would like to play something. But go ahead.
I could, yeah, I could for sure. But I was gonna say Jam Kazam is the name of the
Oh,
app.
okay. I've heard of
I don't know if
that.
you've ever heard of that one. Okay,
Yeah.
so but yeah, here let me put this down. See if it.
Yeah.
See.
Wow. Those pants sound amazing.
They're just, yeah, aren't they amazing? Like, yeah,
They
I
sound amazing. Wow.
you can play anything on these. It's just like, wow.
Wow. That almost made me cry. Like I've never, especially during the pandemic, because everyone's playing so much, the pan just slowly gets out of tune. But
Right.
those sound so, jeez.
Yeah, it helps. Well, one thing that helps is I don't bash on these because these are
Yeah.
more. There's two. I was going to say one thing that I've been talking about is the difference between there's two different types of kind of generally accepted, understood versions of pan. One is like
Hmm.
the classic Trini pan, which you can bash on all day and it won't go out of tune. Or if it is
Yeah.
out of tune, you don't care because it just sounds cool and like and very bright. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
ways to tune it. And then you have
Yeah.
your modern pan, which is more like orchestral. So you play like classical music on it and it just sounds
Hmm.
gorgeous and it's just basically like flawlessly perfect sounding.
Yeah.
um, but you can kind of mask it and get away with it not even sounding like a pan,
Right.
if you have the right mallet. So these are Mallet Man mallets with
Okay.
the moleskin tips.
Oh, moleskin.
Moleskin, yeah, which he sells, and
Ah.
these are like, I mean, he really should call them like a signature, like Andy Narell's signature, but I don't know if somebody else made them first, but that
Yeah.
was he asked him to make it with these to give it a softer sound, so you don't hear the percussive element as much,
Right.
and so it sounds much smoother. But it just depends on the style that you're going for.
Right.
The opposite end of the spectrum is, I don't know if you've ever heard of a group called Bacow Rhythm and Steel Band.
No.
That's a cool. I'm doing an article on them, and it's
Okay.
one guy named Bjorn, and he's out of Hamburg, Germany, and he went to Trinidad and Tobago to study many years ago. Fell in love with
Hmm.
pan, took pan back, loved funk music, and applied pan to funk music, and came up with
Oh,
something.
wow.
And it's really popular right now. Like if you go on
Huh.
Spotify, they have a
Yeah.
lot of streams. So, but
Okay. I will
but yeah,
definitely check them out.
but his pan is more the old school Trini pan, and
Hmm.
and but it's very bright, but it fits perfectly in the style of music he's going for. So that's the
Hmm.
idea. Is it doesn't matter. There used to be kind of there's always going to be snobs in any field, right? There's going to be people that think one thing sounds better than the next, or one thing
Yeah.
you should only use this for everything. Whereas ultimately, I always come from the idea that you can use whatever works for whatever you're trying to do. So
Right.
I mean, if you want a beautiful classical piece, then try this. I mean, if you could
Yeah.
try the other style of pan, and it might actually work as well. You just don't know. So
Hmm.
experimentation is important. You just want to keep an open mind with whatever you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. When you decide on what music to play, do you have any musical influences where you kind of go towards like jazz more R&B? Do you have
Well,
a
yeah,
like a
I try.
go-to?
I try to start from a place of like, yeah, if I'm listening to something and that inspires me to want to write,
Hmm.
sometimes it'll just come out of nowhere and I won't have a particular inspiration and I'll have to find something that's similar to kind of steer a direction.
Right.
Um, uh, like, the overall style is inspired by quite a few people like Bugsy Sharp, on the pan side, Bugsy Sharp and Robert Greenidge. Another guy that really inspires me is Clyde Bradley
Mm.
because of that. It's just the simplicity, but it's very complex, but it comes off in a very simple, digestible way, in
Right.
terms of how he structured pieces and how the pieces just, it was just like a cohesive story. It was great storytelling. It was very clear from start to finish. And then, of course, the signature sound of the specific instruments they used in that band really added to it. So it's just everything
Hmm.
coming together at once. So
Yeah.
when you listen to something like that, then it can inspire your direction. Jazz fusion and stuff that I didn't used to listen to when I was younger, like, because I was really into rock reggae, like 311, Sublime, uh,
Right.
bands like that, and now I've gotten a lot more into Weather Report and then Jonathan Scales orchestra, modern stuff,
Hmm.
and it's a bunch of stuff. I have a playlist I just made for another article that I'm going to put out. It's for
Okay.
modern steel pan albums you need to hear right now,
Okay.
because I think there's a lot of unsung heroes that have
Yeah.
come out with great albums in the last few years. Not all of them are
Mhm.
on these streaming services,
Right.
but many of them that I could find, I put on this list. The Cow
Nice.
Rhythm and Steel is one of them. Jonathan Scales, Pan Rocks, Leon Foster Thomas. His
Okay.
Metamorphosis album was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Nice.
Sean Thwaites Rebel Quartet. I mean, a host of others.
Wow. Wow. Nice. Nice. So you keep speaking about this magazine. Where can we find it?
So go to pan-mag.com.
Nice. You want to say it one more time for those that didn't hear in the
Yes.
back?
So pan-mag.com.
Awesome. And when,
Or you
how
could just
often?
search Pan Magazine with Google. It
Okay.
should come up. Although what's funny is some firearm like information comes up too, because there's actually like a magazine in a gun that's called a Pan Magazine. It's like a
Oh,
round.
interesting.
I, I didn't know that either before I like tested it out. I'm like, let's see if oh well that comes up, and then I come like third in the search. I'm like, okay, all
Okay.
right.
All right, so you're still up there. Okay, that's
So
good.
if you like guns, you can search Pan Magazine, and if you like Pan, you can also search Pan Magazine.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And how often does your magazine come out? Like, how often do you come up with new articles?
We try to come out with a couple a month, a couple new articles a month. That's
Okay.
typically what the standard's been, and then we promote that through social media individually, and then we'll send a collective newsletter out once every 2 months. We're trying
Okay.
to get it down more to back to what it was when I first started, which was once a month. But
Hmm.
um, it's been a little time consuming with some other things. I'm doing in the middle of a house hunt, so
Okay.
we'll see how that goes. But
Yeah.
some other stuff. But ultimately, that's the goal, is to get down to 1 month again.
Okay.
But I have a couple of, I didn't have these until recently, but I have a couple of editorial assistants. I have an editorial assistant and a web dev assistant who have really
Nice.
helped to make the magazine a lot better in the
Hmm.
last few months over the summer. And so it has a new theme, a new look, and a lot of new, fresh content that we're
Nice.
developing. So
Well, congratulations. That's exciting.
thank you. Yeah.
And good
Anything
luck
that
on your.
is there anything you'd like to see on there? Or anybody
I
else,
think.
if you have any questions, like if you want to add in the comment, is there anything anybody else would like to see on PanMag? Feel free to chime in. I'm always open to new ideas. I know you have story ideas and stuff, but if there's any kind
Yeah.
of type of story you want to see more of,
Okay. Let me think about it because I
okay,
saw it. I saw it, and I was just like, I was impressed. So let me think about it, ponder, and I'll get back to
okay,
you.
all right,
Anyone
sounds good.
else? Let him flood him with ideas and emails and phone calls. Well, not phone calls because I don't know if you want phone calls.
Yeah, I'll just I'll give you my like Google phone number that I never
There you go.
checked, and then no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
There you go.
No, I'm
Well,
very responsive through email. So yeah, reach out to me. Also like Facebook, you can reach out,
awesome,
and Instagram as well. So
awesome.
I'm all
So everyone heard that. Reach out to him, give him some ideas, some story ideas, some ideas to expand his magazine. We got you, man. We got you.
all right. It's a group effort here. I mean, we're a
Exactly.
community, and one thing I wanted to add was that's the thing I love the most is like ultimately an instrument. The steel pan is my favorite instrument in the world. It's an amazing instrument, but what really makes it special is the people. It's the
Hmm.
vision of seeing what it is, what it could be, and how we can get there together.
Yeah.
When that's probably the thing I would have added about the comment about going to Trinidad or go to the Panorama scene for the first time is that's the thing that really grabs you is just how welcoming everyone is and how it's just instantly like you're best friends with someone that's next to you playing pan or just anyone. It's just there's no question, there's no like, oh, you're an outsider. I mean there could be a little bit of kind of friendly competition when it comes to getting your spot right on the front
Right.
line, of course.
Right. Of
But
course.
that's to be expected in any medium. If you're an outsider, you're going to have to work to be accepted in something like that. But as
Right.
far as being an outsider coming in and being welcomed at a pan yard and being made to feel like you're instantly part of the family, there's nothing like it with the pan community. So.
Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear
And
it.
I have to come out to Toronto because that's next on my list of coming to Pan Alive.
Yes, you need to. Well, I'm not in Toronto, but you need to go there.
I know you're not, but
I'm on the other side. But
you're on the other
yes,
side. But
I'm on the other side.
but you guys don't have a panorama there, right? Where you're
We
at?
don't we don't we don't
Well,
have enough
maybe
pan we don't have enough pan well bands around here to do that.
or
So
tuners.
or tuners, yeah, because
You hear that, people? Whoever wants to move. Wait, are you in Edmonton right now,
yes,
or
yeah,
okay? Whoever
Edmonton,
wants to
yeah.
move to Edmonton and help build the pan scene, they need people. So,
Please, because I'm doing it. I'm pretty much doing it by myself.
oh man, yeah, that's
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I
it's
commend you. But you're not alone. You're not
thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that.
alone.
Well, before we get cut off by Instagram, I just want to thank you for coming on our show, giving us some good info. Farmers market, I gotta do that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And gig salad is good, and all the other
Yeah,
ones. Yeah, there's ways to do
yeah.
it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining. I want to thank everyone else for watching. Hopefully you come back again next week. I got a special guest for you guys. And you have a good night.
All right, you too. Thank you so much for having
Awesome.
me.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, good
Bye,
night.
everyone.
Bye.
Good night.